Sorry, my microphone just didn't want to do what I needed to do. My apologies. Mrs. McDowell.
Here.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Tell.
Here.
I'm here, Mr. Kennedy.
Here.
And Ms. Anshaw.
Here. Mr. Dashner.
Oh, Mr. Dashner, my apologies. Last
I am here.
All right, everyone
excellent
is here.
start.
Everyone's here and we have a quorum. With that, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Item number 3 is our first opportunity for public comments. We have one. Margaret Pierce states, "Good evening. I would like to hear from Mr. Archibald about the steps he took today to get kids back into their schools. This week, my 7-year-old learned to write 1:50 p.m. by writing 05:1 so her teacher could read it properly on the computer. You are failing the children of South Lyon, and we deserve to know how you are spending our tax dollars to provide the services that we pay for. For families that want a hybrid model, we deserve to know what you are doing on a daily basis to make this happen." All right, that is our only public comment right now. So item number 4 is approval of agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented. Go ahead.
I'll second.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Clark, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any questions or comments regarding the agenda tonight? Okay, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Dashner.
Must be the night of microphones. Yes.
Mrs. Anshaw.
Yes.
Mrs. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Tell.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 3 is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes of November 16th, 2020 and November 23rd, 2020 special meeting.
Support by Clark.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Clark. Questions or comments regarding the minutes?
Nice job, Jude.
Yes, that was a lot of public comment. All right, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Ms. Anshaw.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Tell.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. McDowell.
Yes.
And Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 6 is the 2021 summer tax collection resolution. Ms. Witt.
Good evening. The 2021 summer tax resolution must be adopted annually in order to continue with 100% summer tax levy collections. This has to be done prior to January 1st each year. It is the recommendation of administration to approve the 2021 summer tax resolution as presented.
All right,
I'll move to approve the 2021 summer tax collection resolution.
I'll support that.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Dashner, supported by Mr. Abate. Any questions or comments about the summer tax collection? All right, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Okay, I vote yes. Mr. Tell.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
And, excuse me, Ms. Hanshaw.
Yes.
And Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 7 is the Bond 2020 South Lyon East High School chiller replacement bid approval.
Yes, this agenda item was presented to the FPC on December 1st, 2020, and was approved to go to the board for approval on December 7th, 2020. It is the administration's recommendation to award the bid to Goyette Mechanical in the amount of $703,887.
I'll move to approve the East High School chiller replacement bid approval through bond 2020.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Ms. Ertel. Any questions or comments on the chiller replacement bid proposal?
Question from Clark.
Yep.
I see, Chuck, you just joined. Is this the same chiller that we had to replace the pump on last year?
Voice there. I believe it is at East. Yes, it was an emergency replacement.
Yeah. So that's the one that's been giving us troubles basically since the building was built almost.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
As a comment, I'll just mention that this was brought to the last FPC meeting, and we discussed it and reviewed it along with the bid forms that came in.
Okay. All right, Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
All right, Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Ms. Hanshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Tell
Yes.
and Mrs. McDowell.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, item number 8. We'll start under Administration A, the update to Policy 1002, which is the meetings of the Board of Education.
Yes, I'll be presenting this item tonight. The district contracts with Miller Johnson, which is our legal firm for policy services as well. And Miller Johnson has provided us an update to our policy 1002, meetings with the Board of Education. The updates are necessary in order for the district to be in compliance with changes to Michigan's Act. And the updates will provide flexibility in terms of the board conducting public meetings electronically or individual board members participating remotely for the outlined reasons. And the policy committee did review these changes earlier today, and we are bringing this item back next Monday for approval.
Thank you. Did everyone have a chance to review those policies or the policy? Have any questions? Okay.
It's basically just a temporary measure, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, but it also, I think it also talks about how we can have remote board members for military or when they're
Right.
sick. Yes, but yes, it just clarifies all that. And just so everyone is aware, Miller Johnson, I think is the name of the company now. Yeah, Miller Johnson. They used to be Lusk Albertson. So this is still part of the package that when we converted over all of our policies, this is the same company that we did that with. So this is our first time getting an updated policy from them. So, and it was fairly straightforward. So
One quick question, Ms. Hanshaw, is the
Yes.
verbiage in here is any different for our district in specific, or is this pretty much standard going forward for most districts in that situation?
yeah, it's pretty standard. I even looked on the MASB website, and they had a Neola version of the same policy, and it was
Okay.
not exactly the same, but essentially the same. So
If nothing stands out very different for us, then that's fine.
We did not make any changes to the language provided by Miller Johnson.
Okay.
And Eric, just one thing I noticed as I read through it, it appears to almost be word for word what the legislation that extended the Open Meeting Act said. So I think they mainly took it from the legislation.
That was my guess as well.
yeah. All right. Item B is the bond update presentation from IDS and Barton Malow.
Good evening. I'm Chuck Lewis, principal with Integrated Design Solutions. We've met before. Tonight, we have an update on what we've been doing related to the design work for the bond program. With us tonight, we have Charlie Haas, our project manager, and also one of the architects on the team, as well as Aubrey Robichard, and they will walk you through updates on the projects we've been working on. Charlie, you're going to share your screen, I think?
Yep, let me just go ahead and do that right now. Can everybody, well, I think it's working. Can everybody see the PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, working now.
Perfect. Well, as Chuck said, I'm Charlie Haas, the project manager for the bond. I'm happy to be on here presenting to you guys with my colleagues, Aubrey Robichaud, and I believe we have Mark Reeves as well on the line. So what we want to do is go through a current overview of the projects, some of the key projects that are going on. We have a lot of projects in the works right now, but we're going to highlight just a couple keystone ones at the moment. As we go through this, given the virtual format, what I'm going to recommend is that we will give a pause at the end of each project presentation to allow board members to ask any questions on that particular project, just so people aren't racing to unmute or anything like that. As you'll see as we go through these, the projects will start off with a slide showing the team members involved. It's only going to show a couple people from IDS, but just to clarify, there are plenty of people working in the background to make sure that everything comes to be a successful project, as well as those that participated from Barton Mallow and from the district. So for those that aren't familiar with the process of a design phase, or a project, there are 3 design phases. We have schematic design, design development, and construction documentation. And you can see that they kind of go from a big picture look at the project on the left all the way to what is eventually issued as bid documents on the right. So what we're going to focus on with the projects, and these ones are the projects that are just coming out of schematic design or design development. So there'll still be some pretty high level information on there, not necessarily nitty gritty or details on those, but just some information for those, just some high to mid level information. So in progress, we've got for design, we've got flooring replacements at Kent Lake Millennium and South Lyon High School, paving replacement at Brummer, Dolson, and Hardy. We are actively working on the pool renovation and addition at South Lyon High School, as well as the tech storage mezzanine at the Griswold Operations Center. We've completed schematic design for the Aux Gym at South Lyon East and the renovated science labs at South Lyon High School. And we've completed design development for the turf replacement and track resurfacing at South Lyon East main stadium and the foods lab and project planning room conversions at South Lyon East. And we have received and, pursuant to your last agenda item, awarded bids for the South Lyon East chiller replacement. So this presentation will focus on these 4 projects right here: the Aux Gym, the science labs, the turf, and the project planning rooms. With that being said, I will turn this over to Aubrey to walk you through the next 2 projects, which are the Aux Gym and the planning room projects. Just because of the control issue, I will just let me know when you want me to advance slides, Aubrey.
Sounds good. And good evening, everyone. I'm Aubrey Robichaud with IDS. And so to start, we're going to briefly review scope of the Aux Gym addition and where we currently are at in the design process. And again, as Charlie had mentioned earlier, here are a list of the primary members who have been involved from a design standpoint to date. So a group from IDS, from Barton Mallow's perspective, and also with the district as well. And so with this project, as we had conversations early with users, 4 primary goals sort of emerged that have been driving the sort of development of this project moving forward. The first being to increase opportunities for athletic training in this particular facility, to increase opportunities for coaching in the facility, to assist with operations from the standpoint of athletics, from the standpoint of academics, and also from the standpoint of facilities operations. And then finally, the 4th goal is to enhance events and competitions at South Lyon East's current facilities. And so with that, from a programmatic standpoint and from an overall plan layout standpoint, the following spaces have been developed as part of the scope of this addition project. So the first primarily being a new auxiliary gymnasium space with a full main court, and with that is 2 side courts as well, and all 3 of those courts would be equipped for competition for basketball and also volleyball in all 3. And then adjacent to that, so the plan on the left is the lower level, the plan on the right is the upper level of this addition. Included with that is an artificial turf zone to the west of the gymnasium space that would have equipment potentially for a batting cage, to do sprints, to do sleds, those sort of athletic training exercises. Also included as part of this addition is a new classroom that could serve as a general education classroom, which is the space in yellow. It would improve some of the current operational congestion that exists with the existing health classroom that is very close to this in proximity. It would also improve upon film review amenities, and also from a coaching standpoint would improve operations. And also on the lower floor, we do have additional space for both PE and athletics, which is the dark blue space you see, and then also storage space for facilities that will help alleviate some of the congestion in the current field house and will bring some of those operational needs closer to where they're being utilized from an overall facility standpoint. And so finally on the upper level, there is a space that overlooks the new gymnasium space, which we're calling multi-purpose. So really this will be a very flexible space from an athletic training standpoint. It will also include portable bleacher seating that will allow for spectators to look over the new Augs gym courts below. And that would be accessed from the upper track level in a similar way that the current spectator seating is accessed from the track level in the existing gymnasium. And then this view is just showing a sort of three-dimensional spatial understanding of what we just talked about. So here you can see the sort of upper multi-purpose space overlooking the new auxiliary gymnasium space below with the artificial turf to the right. And then finally, from an exterior standpoint, conceptually, what has been developed to this point is essentially replicating the existing primarily brick material on the lower portion of the building and the insulated metal panel on the upper portion of the building as a sort of extension of that existing gymnasium space to the north. And with that will be additional clear story windows to provide daylighting into the space.
Did anybody have any questions regarding the Aux Gym at East?
Just real quick, what's the width of the artificial turf zone?
It is 20 feet wide by
Okay.
the length of the gym.
All right, thank you.
And so we'll jump to the classroom conversions project, which is also at South Lyon East. So again, here is a list of the primary design team members from IDS's standpoint, Barton Mello, and also the district. With this particular project scope, there's two primary goals, one being to increase available general education classroom space, and then to design for flexibility so that one particular solution is more of a long-term classroom solution and the other being more of a short-term classroom solution, which we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to the specific plan layout. And so there are essentially three spaces being renovated as part of this project scope. The first being this one you see, which is the existing food lab space, which is on the main level of the building. So with this particular space, essentially everything will be pulled out of here from an equipment and casework standpoint and finishes, including that storage space that currently exists in there as well. And then this will be converted into, Charlie, if you jump to the next one. So this is essentially that space. So all of the outer walls and the exterior walls remain. The only addition is that divider wall, which will separate it into two new classroom spaces. And so these will serve as general education classrooms and are configured from a layout standpoint with furniture, all of your sort of marker board, tack board surfaces, the storage, all of those items essentially are replicating existing, the typical existing classroom configurations that you see throughout this building. And with that last one we saw, that was intended to be more of a long-term project solution. With this particular space, the project planning room, there's one which you see here on the main level. There's another one that is essentially a duplicate of the space that is on the floor above. But the goal here is to provide a more short-term solution for providing general education classroom understanding that in the future, the goal is to reconfigure this space back to what it was originally. And so here we see an existing image of that specific space, which is on the main floor. So again, the goal is to minimize the amount of architectural scope here and really do what's necessary in order to outfit this as a short-term general education classroom. And this slide is showing you a three-dimensional image of the proposed solution. And so there are sled desks matching the sort of typical classroom furniture solution layouts that we see elsewhere throughout the building, with a new front of classroom facing the east wall here, and the addition of a new instructor station. So scope here is pretty minimal from an architectural standpoint, but we feel is accomplishing the goals of what we have set out to achieve as part of this project.
Any questions about the east renovations for the project planning or the foods room? Okay, the next project we'll talk about is the science lab renovation at South Lyon High School. We've had a lot of user participation from the district side with CETA and the science department and Chad Scaling as the principal. The project goals that we had for this one that we've identified through those meetings were to increase the lab size, modernize the facilities, and provide for flexibility as the academic program evolves. So what we're identifying here are the two floors of labs, A100 through A108 on the first floor, and then A200 through 208 on the second floor on the southwest side of the building. So what we've done here, the big problem that we discovered with meeting with the users is a lack of or is confined space, or lack of usable floor space. So through some exercises, what we are doing is consolidating from 10 labs to 8 larger labs, 4 on each floor. The first floor will all be biology labs, and then the second floor will be a combination of the chemistry and the physics labs. 2 of the biology labs will be outfitted to have a flexibility for to accommodate additional chemistry sections. A couple 3D views of these showing that the lab space has been moved towards the corridor. Currently it is towards the exterior wall, but they've all been moved to the corridor side, with moving the lecture area where the teacher has a demonstration station closer to the exterior wall, with divided with prep space dividing the classrooms where there's either chemical storage, dry storage, or just general classroom storage. This right here in particular is a chemistry classroom. This is a biology classroom. Through some feedback we received, that there was a desire to replicate the islands that were existing at South Lyon East. So those have been accommodated. And once again, a shared prep space separates those two. And lastly, a physics lab with more movable tables so that they can combine to make longer, combine them to accommodate longer experiments. They have more of a storage room as they don't typically prepare any chemicals for their experiments, but have a lot more physical items that they have to store as they teach. All the labs come with a demonstration station. They'll have a demonstration table, a teacher station, and then an associated storage or prep room. Any questions about the science labs?
Did you say that we went from 10 total classrooms to 8 total classrooms?
Well, there's 3 labs currently on the that are inboard that we're not touching. So there's 3 labs there, and then there's 2 that are currently not being used for science on that side. That through conversations with CETA and the users, we determined that we could consolidate those down to accommodate or to increase the floor space of the labs.
Okay. Good.
Last one we'll talk about a little bit in depth is the stadium turf replacement and track resurfacing at South Lyon East. We worked through with the South Lyon East staff, and as well as our consultant Foresight Design. We wanted to improve the turf playing surface and increase the longevity of the track surface. We had a lot of geotechnical testing done on the current South Lyon East Stadium turf, and it was determined that there are a lot of good existing conditions which will minimize the below grade work that we have to do. So we're pretty much minimalized to the first 2 inches of the soil the subsurface and the turf itself. So we've ironed out the graphics package that you'll see here on the turf. We're going with the attack font in the end zones with a solid white out of bounds line, a gray and silver color scheme with the South Lyon East E as the center field logo. The track will be resurfaced with a structural spray that will match the terracotta or the clay colored spray that's there now, as well as the long jump and the long jump and the pole vault. I believe that is what I'm seeing will be resurfaced as well. And then all the center field logo items have been coordinated and signed off on by the East Athletics Director, as well as the end zone lines with how they pertain to soccer intermingling with the football, how other sports are incorporated into those, and then the number scheme does coordinate with the remaining fonts on the field. Before I move on to next steps, just want to once again check and see if there were any questions.
Charlie, Randy Clark, just wanted to, you're confident that the aggregate base condition is good? That was a major overrun we had at the South Lyon High replacement a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so we had, sorry, Randy, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we had a major problem with the aggregate that had broken down.
So we had both water infiltration testing done, and there were, I believe, a half dozen aggregate cores taken by our consultant and tested in their lab.
Okay, great.
So for our next step, we're going to continue to meet with representatives from the district for the design, development, and construction document phases. Depending on which project it is, we're at different levels of development. Now that there's been an approval for the chiller replacement, we'll begin our pre-construction services with Barton Mallow, getting equipment approved and signed off, and they'll get their contractors ordering it. We will provide you with another quarterly board meeting or board update in March of 2021, and we will be meeting with the FPC again on December 15th. So that's all I had for us. I don't know if Chuck would like to add anything or anybody else from the team would like to add anything before I turn over control.
No, I'd just like to thank everyone for presenting tonight. We're excited. I think things are moving along really well, and we've had a lot of great input. It seems to be that we're getting the projects developed to meet everyone's needs and meeting our project goals. So it's really a good start for the bond.
Yes, thank you. I agree. It's exciting to see all this work already done. So thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and anyone else from the board have any comments on that? Okay. Next up is legislation. Mr. Archibald, any news on that front?
Thank you. Nothing official or formal to report tonight. There are quite a few bills being talked about currently in lame duck, several of which have to do with education, but I'll wait until they, if and when they're finally approved and bring those back to you to share. So nothing official tonight. Thank you.
All right. Next up are the board committee reports. First up is legislative committee.
I have nothing to add this evening.
Okay. Policy. You heard what we talked about today was the policy revision for Open Meetings Act. Finance.
We had a finance committee meeting today. Mrs. Witt provided us with the budget amendment 1 for this school year. We didn't have a lot of time to review it. We're going to have a second committee meeting later this week to go over that in more depth so it can come to the board next time in our next meeting.
All right. Thank you. Facilities and grounds.
Well, we had so much to talk about. We had ideas show up at the meeting tonight, so they stole my thunder. They talked everything.
They did have a lot to talk about. It's like I said, it is impressive.
Yes, there's a lot going on, and it's very exciting to see all the work that they've done and how everything's moving forward. And I think the district will be pleased to see the improvements.
Yes, excellent. Okay, curriculum and communications.
Nothing new. The committee meets again this Thursday.
Okay. Oakland Schools, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I don't think we've met since our last board meeting. Oakland County Health Department School Board update.
I did not make the last meeting, but Mr. Archibald has been forwarding the same data that they've been presenting in those meetings. I do plan on attending the next meeting, which is Wednesday.
All right, thank you. Item E, other. Do we have any other, Mr. Archibald?
I do not.
All right. Item number 9 are reports. Southline Educational Foundation.
Don't have a specific announcement from the group tonight. There was a recent meeting, just lots of ongoing conversation about how to continue supporting Southline programs and figuring out exactly what the needs might be in the different buildings, reaching out to people to sort that out. Some further conversation about the therapy dog programs going forward, that sort of thing, sort of miscellaneous conversation. They're always working on something, but don't have a specific shout out tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I do know that they were really doing a push for Giving Tuesday, and I know they're trying to get or encourage families to buy Star Awards for teachers as Christmas presents. So they're doing great things. All right. Item number 10 is our second opportunity for public comment. We have one. Okay. Mr. Gordon Kerr says, please look into what Dr. Fauci has said recently about kids being better off in a school and be prepared to discuss that at the next meeting on the 14th. Thank you. All right, that's our only public comment at this time. Item 11 is correspondence. We don't have any. Item 12 is our future meeting dates. We do have a meeting next Monday, and then the next one after that will be in January. Item 13, board comments. Mr. Dashner, start us off.
I just want to apologize to everyone for missing the meeting last week. I was out of town and couldn't make it work to get on the meeting, so I do apologize for that. Outside of that, just appreciate everyone's patience with everything we're going through now. I know there's a big contingent that wants kids in school. I think all of us do, but we have to be able to staff the schools to be able to do that. And that's our biggest problem right now, is being able to have enough teachers in the classrooms or substitutes or other people watching the kids. And that's really where the main problem lies. So we're trying to get them back as soon as possible. We need the cases to calm down in order to do that, so we can have the teachers in the rooms.
Thank you.
That's all.
Mr. Kennedy.
I have nothing more to add other than what's already been said. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Clark.
I'm just hoping everybody has a happy holiday season coming up. I know there is one more meeting before that, but we're into our break.
Yeah, pretty quick. Ms. Ortel.
I don't have much to add. I hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving and looking forward to the next big holiday coming up.
All right, Mr. Abate.
Nothing in particular tonight. Just good to see everybody. Thanks to everyone who tuned in. Thanks to our staff who are working really hard for our kids remotely. Thanks to our kids who are working really hard remotely, and to our families for supporting them and for your patience as we try to get through this so we can get everybody back.
And Ms. McDowell.
I don't really have anything to add other than I just hope people, stay home, stay safe, wear your mask. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, not too much has happened in a week other than just life. I do want to remind families and any students that happen to be watching, we really would like all the cameras on. It's better for your learning, and it's better for the teachers, and it just makes a much better opportunity and experience. So please encourage your kids to keep their cameras on during class. And with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Moved by Ms. Ortel, supported by Mr. Abate. Mr. Abate, please call the roll.
Yes, Ms. Hanshaw.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
I vote yes, Ms. Zertel.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Ms. McDowell. Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. And Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes.
Motion passes.
Sorry.
Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Stay well.
Everybody.
Have a good night.